Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the episode 2 of Patriotic podcast. I am Patriotic Cav on the YouTubes, and we got Adam here, and I'm already blanking on your GETTR. What is that?
It's BIXLORIOUS.
BIXLORIOUS on GETTR. You can also find me on GETTR and whatever else in the description below, as well as our sources. Because unlike the fake news, we actually link our sources, so you guys don't have to take our word for it. Read it yourself. And I try to keep up to date with all that. The first episode...
Yeah, and unlike our sources, we also don't have like 50 million made up ones. We just have like a couple articles that we read.
Unknown sources, you know.
Yeah.
I hate when they say, or anonymous sources is what they always say. You know?
Yes, it's anonymous source. An anonymous source has told us.
It's an anonymous source. It's always that. Or it'll be like one person they saw on a comment section say something. Right. That's how they can get away with it. Well, we didn't lie. Yeah, we didn't lie. Someone did say that, you know. But anyways, we do link them. But anyways, we are... I didn't even, give me 1 second. There we go. I didn't even have my article up. So, this is something, I just want to jump right into it. We were talking about the quartering just before we started, and I thought it would be a good one to start with. If you guys have been following this whole weird frenemy kind of thing going on with the quartering and the showrunner of The Witcher, which I have not. Have you seen The Witcher, by the way?
Yeah, I've seen both seasons.
Oh, you've seen both seasons?
Some people don't like the second season, but to be honest, I didn't have a problem with it as much as some people did. I thought the first season was stronger because it focused more on Geralt and that whole character building, and I don't know. I just didn't have a problem with it like some people did. Maybe it's because I'm more forgiving on. Because I just look at it as like it's a Netflix TV show. I'm not like going for like, oh man, this better be like Oscar-worthy performances across the board. Storyline better like stay right within my metrics, or I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, but I mean, I love the games. I played all 3 of them. Probably sunk like over 100 hours in the third one. It's funny because I looked it up because I didn't like the ending of the third. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but there's like 30 something different endings, and apparently, according to the internet, I got the absolute worst one. There's like
you just suck at the game.
Well, I was kind of like just not a good person. There's like these big moral choices you can make. So it was like, let this guy go or kill him. Like I'm gonna kill him. And
just kill everybody. Let's kill them all.
Then there's a point in the game where you can not well, I was gonna say marriage. It's not marriage, but you can hook up with someone, one of the girls in there. But you can also have the choice later on to hook up with the other one. And
of course you went with the other one.
I did both, and there's actually a scene where they plot like they knew all along that you were cheating on them, so they have this whole scene where they screw with them and like tie them up, not in a sexual way, but tie them up like to get them back and stuff. So pretty much every choice I got to be a bad person, I did. So I guess that's why I got the worst ending at the.
Well, that's almost like the Dishonored games too. They have that, and I didn't realize that either when I was playing through. That's like there's like bad ending, good ending, and then there's like a middle of the road ending, and like so I played through it 3 times the one time, just because like to be honest, the replay value is fun because going around just like assassin killing people is like super fucking fun.
Yeah, I love that game.
And unfortunately, I didn't realize this. I just kept getting like I would get like slight deviations on the middle of the road ending. I'm just like, I was like, I wonder if there's supposed to be like a better ending than this. I always feel like I'm getting shafted or something, and it turns out like because of like certain people I killed and all that. It's like, you're never gonna get the good ending
because you can go through that game like not killing anybody, right? Like, isn't that how
you can go through the entire game, and basically it's all based on how well like mentally you affect the kid you're protecting or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I forget what, because you're like at the beginning you're the guardian of some princess or something like that.
Yeah, I played the first one. I just never beat the second.
I didn't even bother with the second one just because I was like, I just didn't feel like having to deal with like moral choices on a game again. Like the game was much better my first playthrough when I just didn't know that. I just didn't know that there was multiple endings, so I just like went around and just killed people. I didn't care that there was a fuck ton of like plague rats going around. Fuck them.
I mean, that's pretty much how I play them. It's just a lot easier to kill them than have to stealth around and figure it out and all. But
yeah, it's annoying.
But with The Witcher, I haven't seen the show. I'm really bad at watching new shows. Mostly every time a new show comes out, everyone's like, "You got to watch this," and I just end up rewatching The Office or like Community or something. I'm just like scrolling. I'm like, "All right, these look good. These look good." Never mind. I'm going back to The Office. It's just my default. But
did you watch Arcane at least?
No.
Oh my gosh!
Is that the League of Legends show?
That's the League of Legends ones that everybody's like, "Holy shit! This is way better than it has any right to be."
Yeah,
I don't know if you know this. Most people have a sore spot for the game League of Legends.
What does that mean?
That means like they hate playing the game.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
For some reason, like I don't know. I never had like maybe it's because I'm not as angry about certain things like that. Like yeah, I get pissed off at the video game, but I'm not sitting there and just like complaining online all the time about it.
I think it's mostly the community because I remember when that first came out, I believe I tried it in beta, but I was like really early on in the game. I was turned off by it because it was just so toxic. Like I felt like if you weren't like the top notch player, the trolls would just eat you alive, and that's what turned me off from it. Because I'm like, I don't want to be yelled at a bunch of random 15-year-olds. I don't got time for this shit. So I'm like, I'm not even gonna play because I don't know. It was too frustrating, and plus, I don't really enjoy MOBAs that much. But you already know that.
I'm a big MOBA fan.
Yeah.
I still think we need to get you on stream playing MOBAs and record your reactions.
Yeah,
it'll be hilarious.
We'll do Pokemon.
Pokemon Unite.
Yeah. We'll do that at some point.
That's an easy one. That's like a simple baseline. That's perfect.
That's why I'm interested.
Average player can get used to Unite type of MOBA.
And of course our Twitch, we'll be doing something at some point. We play like Call of Duty Apex. I'll be doing some retro stuff, but that'll be in the link below. And we'll let you guys know when we actually do our first stream. But so back, we kind of went way off, but with the quartering,
Witcher.
Yeah, The Witcher. So some people were complaining, specifically the quartering. Put out a tweet in so many words saying it focuses on the strong, independent women a lot on season 2, and they underutilize Geralt, the main character. Like, they just don't.
Which was a mistake. Yeah. It really was.
Everyone says. I mean, obviously, that he says he does a fantastic job as him. Apparently.
Well, that's because I don't know if you know this. Like Henry Cavill is a big nerd. Like, he's one of those people that he almost missed his not audition, but getting the role for Superman because he was playing WoW.
I thought but I wasn't sure if it was true or not.
Yeah, it came straight from him. He was doing an interview, and he was like, he's like, I was getting a call from Zack Snyder, and I was just like, yeah, he can wait.
It's raid time. That's pretty hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's a big nerd, and he's also very, very big fan of The Witcher itself, and a big fan of the book.
Hear that. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but he should be way more involved. And that was one of the quartering's points was, why don't you just have Henry Cavill more involved in this, and then you won't get as much criticism, because he obviously loves the books. He loves the storyline. He loves the character. That's why he does such a good Geralt.
I think it's Geralt.
I've heard it pronounced. Yeah, I've heard it pronounced like 50 different ways.
Yeah, one of those.
But he's so good at it because he understands the character, not just from playing the video game, from also reading the books and consuming just like the other media that is involved with The Witcher.
Right. Yeah. He knows what he's talking about.
Right. He has experience in the sense that he's not the guy on the outside looking in. You know how like a lot of times these actors will have to like study a part and stuff like he didn't really have to study the part. He's like, yeah, I already read all the source material.
Yeah.
Like he's already there in the mindset and knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So that
I do want to watch it just based off everything I've heard, But like I said, I suck at watching shows, but
right.
But the whole thing with the quartering, let me see if I can not screw this up again.
All right. Bring up the article so that people can actually read it.
Full screen that. There we go. Still choppy, but I got it. I was at the first. If you guys seen the first podcast, there's like a very obvious cut, because I'm new at this. I'm new at YouTube. I'm new at all. Like I'm learning video editing for the first time and all this stuff. And I was not. I was talking for a very long time on the podcast, and you guys can see my screen's just completely blank because I didn't. I don't know how to switch properly, but I'm getting it. I'm utilizing the Stream Deck. You know, I can just push this button, it switches. I'm not gonna push it again because I'll screw it up. But now you guys see the article. I hope. So he put out that tweet complaining, like, you know, in so many words, that Geralt is underutilized, that they need to start using him more in the show. And they kind of went back and forth, him and the showrunner, a little bit. Like, it was a little hostile at first. You know, they're exchanging some insults, you know, her fans against his fans.
It was light jabs.
Yeah, it was light jabs.
It really was. It wasn't anything. And I'm not a big Twitter follower or anything like that. And, like, I just see what people post later.
I'm
like
trying to get banned on Twitter, but...
Yeah,
we'll see. I got. Apparently, if you get 5 strikes, you get permanently banned. I have 2, I think now. So I gotta step up. It's really easy to get.
You gotta step up your game.
Yeah, you gotta step up. You can't even cuss on it. The one time I said, like, I think I just said bitch or something like that, and they like gave me a warning. And come on, Twitter. Like, I know you're like anti-free speech, but I can't cuss. You know, but I'm gonna get there. But so they eventually got to this point where Lauren, her name, Hisrich, she's like, so the quartering until 2 days ago, you didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who you were, but now here we are, in a lovely banter that is blowing the minds of people who are used on Twitter, being an absolute dumpster fire of divisiveness and hate. I'm not going to read all that, there's a lot, but pretty much saying she wants to get them know more, you know about his videos and all that. So it eventually got to the point where they're kind of exchanging kind words, talking, completely disagree with each other politically. I mean, she even, there's a tweet somewhere. How do I change this? Oh, shit. Hang on, guys. Like I said, I'm learning. There we go. That's easier. So she got to the point where her fans were just like, what are you doing conversing with this crazy lunatic, right-wing Nazi guy? For apparently, from what I know, the quartering voted for Obama twice. You know, he's pretty centrist. He's not really, you know, they say far alt-right conspiracy theorist. It's like when they go crazy with the labeling. It's like that one time where what's the dude's name that does the Daily Show? He took over for Jon Stewart.
Oh,
Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah.
There we go. Trevor Noah.
He there was one part of his show where he questioned the people making. I can't even really talk about the vaccine at all, but he questioned the money behind it on his show, and it was real quick. And because of that little clip, Twitter was just like, far right wing Trevor Noah, you know, alt right Trevor Noah. I'm like, are you guys serious? Him? Alt-right of all people.
And I thought that's like a left thing, is like, yeah, follow the money. It's always big pharma, big this, big that, involved in everything. Like that's normally a left-wing talking trope, is, hey, this has to go deeper than just whatever. There's this, you know, big corporations are bad, so we got to control them, and that's why we need the government to do that. Yeah. That's always been their talking point. So I don't understand why it's such a big deal that he said something like that. That's
somehow like swapped, which is the weirdest thing. Is like all the punk rock bands used to be anti-establishment and all that. Now they're all like in it with, you know, big pharma, big government.
Yeah, it's no longer Rage Against the Machine. It's to quote Tim Pool, it's Rage for the Machine.
Yeah, Rage for the Machine. Yeah, no, but that's how it is. And even like Antifa, you know, they're totally. It's like a whole like oxymoron. They're retarded, Antifa. I don't think they really know what fascist means. But it's like somehow it's like the.
Well, yeah, they don't know what any of it means, because they're just a bunch of pawns. All right, okay. We have the chessboard out. They're the first. You know, they're the first wave. All right, they're the first couple little pieces, and they don't really know what's going on and all that. Antifa has. That's why, like, there isn't like a centralized place where you can like go and say, okay, this is Antifa's headquarters or whatever. It's just a bunch of different little cells kind of scattered out throughout the country, and it's run by people who know what's going on, and they're getting, you know, all these people together just using basically Twitter hashtags and different types of social media get-together type things and saying, hey, meet up at this location, and then all of a sudden they start handing out freaking shivs and shit and bricks and all that other stuff, and then all of a sudden there's a riot going on. You're like, when the hell did this happen?
That's one of the craziest things to me when they're talking about the riots, or mostly peaceful riots. Sorry, of the Summer of Love. They had these trucks pulling up, and people were opening up the trucks, taking just bricks out, like all these pallets and stuff.
That was such a weird thing. And to kind of come back to like our main point about the quartering and all that, it's just like, they are pawns in the sense that they don't tell them that you're allowed to, you know, interact with the other side. They just tell them that side's the enemy. They're a bunch of Nazis. Go get them.
Yeah.
There is no like conversing. There's no next step to it. It's always just fight, fight, fight. You know, do what you have to. And like one of the things that they said is to respect other people's ways of protesting or whatever. Like you're supposed to respect the diversity in protesting, in the sense like when people are like, hey, those guys over there are getting violent. Don't you think we should like not be violent? That kind of defeats the purpose of this.
Well, it's like
you respect the diversity of our approach in protesting.
Yeah, that protesting, which we can get back to in a bit, but it's just it's insane. You can, you know, cause, what is it, over $3 billion in damages, over 1,000 casualties.
Yeah, it's a ton.
You know, but that's totally fine. What happened on January 6th, though, that was worse than 9/11, which I still can't believe they're still going with that. I heard someone say that, like when January 6th first happened, like it's worse than 9/11.
One person died, and they're like, oh, it's the same as 9/11. I'm like, did like 2,000 some people go down in a building?
They're like freaking
2 buildings, maybe 3.
Yeah, 3,000 Americans. Oh, they're in the Kamala Harris saying it's the equivalent of Pearl Harbor and 9/11. It is 9/11. It's like the Holocaust and Pearl Harbor all mixed up in one. Man, it is the worst thing ever. But I mean, they're good. They're good. The left, and I don't mean this sarcastically. They're really good at demonizing who they want to demonize. They're like, we want to destroy this person. They will destroy that person, and they're very good at it.
Yeah, which is why we can't have these conversations like the quartering was. Well, we can have them, but people they just go out of whack. And to be honest, they just focus on stupid things. Like, for instance, the quartering, like, he is known before the quartering. Like, I was actually talking to Chris about this before. He is known for, like, Magic the Gathering content. And the only reason I know that is because I'm in that sphere of just, like, I like card games and, you know, strategy games like that. And I watched some of his YouTube videos, and he was always known to be like one of those people that's like a troll and stuff like that. And he was a very, very anti the cosplayers and stuff because, well, I shouldn't say he was anti the cosplayers because that's not even the right word. He was just more or less against the ones that were just doing it to, you know, basically like, hey, look at my boobs, and I'm going to wear this outfit that's very revealing and, you know, give me money type of deal.
Yeah, and it definitely messes with, you know, or it definitely annoys like some like gamers and stuff when you have.
Right, yeah, because some people have respect for the actual game, not like these cosplayers, and you know, I never cared. I don't care if you are doing it to cosplay or whatever because you like the character designs, but he would sometimes go. I don't want to say way far over the line, right? But he inched towards it. But the thing is, though, I think it only really blew up because at one point Magic was having an issue where there was a bunch of like pedos in the judges' circles, and he was one of the first people that brought it to light. And I remember watching these videos, going, "Holy crap! Are there really that many like pedophiles and stuff that are like, you know, encroaching on my hobby?"
And he exposed it all.
And he exposed a bunch of like, you know, all right, here's this guy, this judge. He has been a judge for X number of years. Here's his rap sheet. And you look at it and you go, holy crap. He was like going after some 14-year-old, got, you know, probation and X number of, you know, years of whatever Then he got charged again with going after a minor, and then he's a judge for this card game that does have some players that are under 18, and he basically saying, look, you can't have this in your game if you're going to be selling cards to young kids.
Right.
And they didn't like that they got exposed like that, because I'm guessing, like most major corporations, they would rather deal with the problem silently and kind of sweep the controversy under the rug.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't like that the light was exposing all the dirty, not necessarily their dirty practices, but it was exposing that they had a lot of, chinks in their armor, and they like to say how mighty and great their community was, but they didn't want to focus on that aspect over there where it's there's probably some pedophiles over there that you should probably get rid of, but they're like, oh, don't worry about that, let's model it over there, let's focus on the good stuff.
Don't want to hurt their brand or anything,
Follow the money. At the time, Wizards was also was dealing with, people have always been upset with how Wizards releases their product and stuff like that, and he would do content on that as well, saying, they're charging obnoxious prices for stupid things and this and that. And so they already didn't like content creators that did that type of stuff. And so they saw the opportunity where he had been having a Twitter spat with this one cosplayer and called her a thought or something like that. Oh, yeah. And basically Wizards was like, all right, this is our opportunity. So they hit him with a ban and a bunch of other stuff, and closed down his MTGO account, which is Magic the Gathering Online. It's the pre-arena online database card game type thing. And he lost a shit ton of money just based on that, because you have to still pay for the stuff on Magic Online, and so that means he probably lost a decent, I don't know if it was how many thousand he put into it, but he said he just put a decent chunk into it. They just banned him randomly because, well, one, they wanted the controversy to not go as far as it did, and two, they also saw it as a plus where they didn't have to deal with a problem child in the, they didn't have to deal with the black sheep, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he hates women.
And I think, he hates women, so we're going to get rid of him. So, looking at him now as the quartering, you look at what he's done in the past, and I don't know if you know this, but I don't like pedophiles, and I'm sure you don't like pedophiles. So, to me, I never saw him as, a bad guy. I'm how can you say he's a bad faith actor, and he hates this and that, when he literally was putting his career on YouTube because that's all he did was Magic content.
You think taking down pedophiles would be something that everybody unite around?
Let's all get on board with that. But because, again, we can't have, we got to have our sides and our whatever. It's instead of the Magic community kind of pulling together and being we got a lot of pedophiles that we should probably deal with. Because I hate to tell you this, but there's a bunch of sweaty neckbeards that play Magic the Gathering, and
I might gather that.
There's some bad eggs, and
that whole because talking about the Witcher thing and him going back forward, that's where that whole he hates women thing, because
yes, that's where it stems from.
Yeah, reading all these comments, that's all they're saying. Do you not know he bullies women? And she actually asked him that at one point. Let me see if I could. Actually, I don't know if I have the tweet here, but she pretty much flat out, do you bully women? Which, because he made that video on Brie Larson or whatever. And,
yeah. That's bread and butter for content.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little down today. What's Brie Larson doing? She's being a bitch. Get her.
Yeah. I saw she returned the YouTube, and he tried going back on her comment section, and they apparently he's banned.
He got blocked instantly.
Mike, his point is, and he even says he's look, maybe I was a little inflammatory back then with some of my language and all that, but. He said he doesn't feel like anyone's above criticism. He's I criticize men, women. And that's the thing, anytime you criticize someone, they'll latch it on to he just said something bad about Obama. He must hate all black people. He just said something bad about Brie Larson. And it's like, I'll criticize anybody. I don't care if they're white, black, male, female, or some kind of halvesies. You know, nobody's above.
And that's the thing too. Like, so like I'm a big like. When it comes to like pedophiles, like I'm one of those people that like when I watch like Chris Hansen and stuff, I'm like, yeah, get him, Chris Hansen. I tell him to take a seat. And I'm like when they cut. We talked about this last podcast when they tackle him into the ground. I'm all for that. Yeah. And so like in my mind, I can't see him as a bad person. Just because he was willing to go out there and say, look, I did the research. I looked up these people, and they're pedophiles. Yeah. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
And they were, and just so you know, they weren't women. They were all men. Yeah. So does that mean he hates all men? Or is it just when he sees something he has a problem with, he's very opinionated. Yeah. And then he speaks his mind.
Yeah. And that's just the way to demonize them and destroy them, so they don't like any dissenting views. They just want to get rid of them. And even like let me see if I can bring it up real quick. So her let me see if this is it. So on her comments, wow, I switched my screens correctly this time. So she's pretty much saying like, here, I've started an unexpected conversation, and I'm hearing far more about the damage I'm doing to the fandom than anything else. And that's what everyone's saying, like, oh, you're destroying everything. They're always overplaying it. He's this horrible person. He hates women, misogynist. They can never provide any examples. They'll bring up something, oh, he criticized somebody.
Well, it's also like the same Twitter handles. Like, I don't know if they just have, like, a group of people that just constantly follow his stuff or... Oh,
yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Like... But they always say like the same thing like all the time.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're paid to do it. I don't know how
trustworthy like any of these accounts are, because the more you dig into him and his history, it's like, yeah, he was an asshole to like cosplayers, but like, are you really gonna like burn him at the stake for that? Like, that's your methodology into saying, yep, he hates all women and he's a sexist, misogynist pig, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, I hate to tell you this, there's been a bunch of people that have hated like people who dress up scantily clad to, represent some medium that they like. I remember Avatar: The Last Airbender, like people hated when they would like sexualize I can't remember the female character's name, but
Kara.
No. That's the next one. That's what is her name? I forget what her name is. She's
I don't know. I just think
Kara. I'm like, what?
I don't watch the show.
But like they hated when like they would sexualize the characters and stuff like that, because it's just like, that's not what we want. And what are you gonna say? They're misogynist? Yeah, because they don't like that cosplayer. But then again, that happens in every fandom of every type.
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, oh, he didn't like this one thing that everybody else seemed to not have a problem with, so let's just say he hates all women.
Yeah. Well, it's even just the whole tribalism stuff. I'm knocking shit over. It's the way they don't have to deal with other opinions, because it is, they're always about their safe spaces and staying away. Yeah. They don't even Tim Pool was going over how the right is much more likely to listen to center sources and left wing sources than the left is to listen to right wing. And I know Dennis Prager always repeats that. He says we listen to the left, they don't listen to us. So they just have these few speaking points about us that they're racist, they're sexist. So that's why they shut down debate. They're like, well,
right. I'm not even. That's what I mean by pawns. Yeah, like that's what. They don't have an actual. So I like the idea of I like the idea of calling them pawns, because if you look at what pawns are, like they just only move forward. All right, unless there's something over to the left or right of them that they can actually attack. But if they hit another pawn, they don't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Right.
All right.
And that's what I mean by them being pawns. They just only move forward. They're very tunnel visioned. And when the opportunity arises for them to strike something, it's always they always have to go wherever they don't have. What I mean is they don't have a multitude of directions that they can go.
Right.
Because they only know so much. And I think then the pawn is a good idea because, once the pawn gets to the other side, it becomes, whatever piece it wants to be. That's when they get red-pilled.
Yeah. Eventually it happens. We're seeing that more and more. We're seeing that more
Isn't that
more.
oh, man, I went all the way with that analogy.
But no, like, look at this. Like, oops, I'm doing it wrong again. Oh, there we go. So I gotta make sure I do it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm learning, everyone. I swear to God, I'm trying to learn how the Stream Deck works. So look at these comments. Like, you cannot tolerate bigotry, misogyny, abuse, harassment, and homophobia. You see, they just list the speaking points.
That is so annoying to me too. When they have like the list of things. And it's like always the same things in the same order. Like they just copy and pasted it from like some Tumblr post. Like, do you need a left-wing talking point for your Twitter response? Copy here.
Yeah, don't want to look dumb in a debate. Just as
it's a copy pasta for the left.
Yeah. I know, like, Prager always says, like, six herb, like, sexist, intolerant, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic, racist, bigoted. Like, they just have all that, and they just... Because that way, like, you can get out of any debate, you can get out of any discussion, because you're like, well, I know you're a Nazi, and I'm not going to debate with a Nazi, and...
Mm-hmm. I don't need to defend my points. You have to defend yours, though.
Yeah, and see, like, I understand that, because if there was an actual Nazi, like, that was talking to Faye, I wouldn't want to talk to him either. Like, I can understand why they're shutting down their point of view. But it just shows like how their sheet, they're just going off the bullet points and like this.
Well, I think even if you have like there's no actual Nazis left. There's the neo-Nazis or whatever the heck that small ass.
And yeah, their numbers are next to zero. Like
yes, and so I hate to tell people this, but the Nazis are all dead from World War II. I know, grand shock.
I was told that Trump was literally Hitler. So
yeah, I forgot he's. A reincarnation.
Yeah, he's a reincarnation, He's literally Hitler.
Yeah, but I hate to tell people this. Nazis are dead, all right? Now, there are neo-Nazis, but the thing is, though, so I always like light is the best disinfectant, right? So the reason I'm so free speech oriented is because I like to have my ideas either hammered down or... And to bring it back to like Magic the Gathering and stuff, which I think is a kind of a neat tie-in because it's something that I have to deal with when I play at a competitive event or something. Like if I'm taking a deck, no matter what card game I'm playing, all right, because I play more than just Magic.
Yeah.
But if I'm going there, like I want my, I have a friend, Mark, who helps with deck building and stuff like that. He's a teammate of mine. And when we go to these things, I want him to tell me, hey, this card is bad for X reasons. And it's just, this deck is terrible because of this and that. And so I always look at my opinions and my ideals as a deck of cards. All right, like a Magic deck of cards. Inside that deck of cards, there is, like, let's say I'm playing a deck that's meant to be an aggressive, kill you super quick deck, right? Inside that deck is a bunch of stuff that is meant to kill my opponent quickly. So if we take that and we look at that deck and we say this card, this card, this card, and that card are very bad for what you're trying to do, obviously I want someone to tell me to take those out because it's bad. Well, the same thing applies to life, right? And your opinions. If you have that Magic, well, now your deck is your ideals and your opinions and your research and all that. If someone comes up to you and they're like, I don't like this, this, and this, and this, and takes those cards out of your deck of opinions, and you look at them and you have to be able to defend those cards, or you're probably going to have to take those opinions out of the deck.
Right.
And that's what I like about free speech is it disinfects the bad ideas. And so that is exactly what we're trying to do when we're advocating for like being able to talk with the other side and being able to have these conversations, because you're never, ever, ever going to get rid of those bad ideas and get rid of those bad cards if you don't have someone tell you that those are bad ideas.
Yeah. And here on, I got it right here. Hold on, let me show you this.
Okay.
So I was trying to find some good ones. Look at this. Like, I don't know, can you see? Oh, no, you can't see it.
I can't see it because it's on your thing.
Yeah,
you can send it to me, though.
Yeah, I'll send it. All right, there we go. You should be able to see that now, I hope.
Yeah, okay. I can see it now.
Yeah. We're, I swear to God, I'm trying to figure this out. So we shouldn't tolerate people who are openly intolerant. Like, aren't you kind of contradicting yourself there? We should be more open-minded, but I'm not going to listen to other people's opinions. Like, this is what I'm saying. They have no...
That is so stupid.
That's what I'm saying. They have no self-awareness at all. They're like, they say they're for free speech and all that, but they're like, oh, we're not for hate speech. And I always think of, like, Ricky Gervais saying, he's like, well, who decides that? Like, who decides what hate speech is? You know, because if you're not going by the law, that's why a lot of people get mad at Gab, because they're like, oh, you have some, every once in a while you can get some horrible people on Gab, and he's like, yeah, but they're not doing anything illegal, like,
right.
And if we go by the law, there's laws that you can't do certain things, like incite violence, because anything outside of the law, it's just your opinion. You're deciding what is hate speech or not, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. There are going to be some psychos out there who think everything should be banned. And that's why I'm not really like a huge, like, I like GETTR and Gab and all that, but they kind of become a little bit of an echo chamber. Like, I kind of like, that's why I like having these platforms like Twitter and Instagram, so you can actually debate people and have these discussions. Like, we want to talk and debate with the left, but they don't want to do it to us, you know. So that's why, going back to their, you know, you're racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic, they can just shut down any debate, any dissent. And they're not realizing just how that's the reason that we're so divided. That's why there's so much tribalism. It's just getting worse. I don't even know if it's going to get any better, to be honest. Like, some people
probably not, but yeah. I'm also a little black-pilled right now. So
yeah. Some people say, you know, we'll eventually get back to a agree to disagree thing. I don't see that happening. I like it to happen, but you know, it was too tribal right now with the just the way things have gotten. But with the quartering, what I was going to bring up earlier was and I already I lost my page. But anyways, the point I was going to make about it all is that they're doing something pretty groundbreaking, him and this Lauren chick. They're
You mean talking? That's groundbreaking? Holy shit.
That we've gotten so bad to the point that actually talking is groundbreaking. I mean, I feel like she's going to eventually give in, but
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I hope she doesn't.
I mean, she's making so much money. That's the other thing I don't understand about these people. They are making so much fucking money. Like, you really can't deal with just a bunch of people on Twitter. They're like, I can't believe in clutching their pearls. Like,
there's so many people in her comments saying, like, yeah, like, don't give in to them, all this stuff. And she's kind of like, you could tell it bothers her, and she wants to be more open. She wants to reach across the aisle. She keeps putting out tweets like that, like, hey, I'm trying to learn here. And then she doesn't realize that all the hate and bigotry and all that is coming from her side. That's why she's right. I think it's for her. She's gonna just drive herself nuts, and I think eventually she's gonna give up on the whole thing.
Yeah, it's almost, well, that's not always true. Man, I just watched a cool little video on. It was she was a known feminist or whatever, and she was like a young feminist on YouTube, and she did a bunch of videos about feminism and all that. And then she started dating this guy. This guy was not like he's not a right-wing guy. He was actually, I
think I know who you're talking about.
A left-wing guy, but the thing is, though, he's left-wing, but he stands by his grounds that we shouldn't have censorship, we should have free speech, we should be able to talk to the other side, and he's just a more liberal in the sense of the actual liberal term.
Yeah.
Like he's allowing for a lot of things. He's liberal in that.
That's why I always say, like, I try to make a difference between liberal and then left, because they're really not the same thing anymore. You know. Yeah,
there's definitely a divide there, and you see it a lot of times too. Because I have friends who are on the left wing, more or less, like if not socially, politically, like. They're not in that same sphere as the left that we're talking about. That is like, oh, I got to cancel all these people, got to shut them down. You know, do what you have to stop them.
Yeah.
You know, silence them at all costs.
Yep.
Because they're not in that sphere. They're in like this more towards the center, and they're like, I don't think we need to cancel this guy. I just don't agree with him.
Yeah.
And so like that's what happened with this, and I wish I remember her because I feel bad now.
I think I'm pretty sure who, I don't know her name either, but I think I know you're talking.
I'm sure I could probably look it up and find it, but I remembered though she got freaking, and this was not too long ago either, because she did like Dave Rubin's podcast, and that's how I found out about her. And because again, he is one of those types too, where he's like, yeah, I'm more on the left, in the sense that politically, where I'm not this conservative, but I also just want free speech and be able to talk to both sides like freely without having to, oh my gosh, I might step on some eggshells here because I, God forbid, wanted to talk to Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's why you're getting a lot of people like Dave Rubin that are, they still like to consider themselves a liberal, or that's where they came from, but now they're like, they kind of feel like they don't have a home anymore because the left is going so far left that even some people who consider themselves liberal are like, this is getting a little crazy. Like, look, like, I disagree with the right, but now we're talking about firing them from their jobs. I think the Gino Carano thing woke up a lot of people because I know a lot of people personally, like from my Twitch days and stuff, that were just like, look, I don't really agree with anything she says, but they freaking fired her from the show. And it wasn't just she got fired. She got her agency dropped her and everything, like completely wiped out.
And she was a pretty popular part of the show. It wasn't like she was like this just random side character. She was a reoccurring side character.
I thought she was one of the best characters. I know I'm supposed to be sexist, but I thought she was one of the best parts of the entire show, which is why I'm not going to watch season 3 now. So.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I always, I don't think she was the best. I think the best part of the show was definitely freaking like it's gonna be
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, it's Baby Yoda. Like he was just great.
Yeah,
but like it was one of those things where it's like, oh look, they actually did like a strong female character correctly for once.
Yeah, who's not like,
you know what I mean?
And
like
to mention that every 5 seconds,
like, did I mention I was able to do everything a man could do?
Did I mention that already?
Did I tell you about that time that I did a man thing?
Yeah,
and a man was not involved in this man thing. It was all woman.
Well, that's what I'm saying about, like, they're always like, oh, men always get so offended by strong female characters. It's like, no, some of my favorite TV show characters, movie characters, video game characters of all time are female, but it's because they're well written, they're good characters, and they're not annoying. There's plenty of male characters I find super annoying too.
Here, let me put out there my now I get a sexist pass for this. I better anyways. Right. I don't know why I wouldn't. One of my favorite movies, Disney. Well, my favorite Disney movie, and probably like the top 3. It's easily like third or second is Tangled, and that movie is all about. It's a woman character, like she's escaping the tower, trying to be free, this and that. And
I really did not expect to like that movie. My sister.
I saw that movie over 30 times.
I didn't see that much, but I remember like one night, because we'd usually watch when we all lived together. We would watch a movie on the weekends, and she's like, "I want to watch Tangled." And I'm like, "That's a girls' movie," But I just didn't think, just the concept of it. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going to be interested in that. But then I gave it a shot. I'm like, wow, this is actually a legitimately good movie. Like,
it was surprised that. Okay, this is a funny story because. So I was in college when this movie came out, and I remember sitting there, and I think we were all sitting down. We were playing like Gears of War or something.
Yep.
And this dude busts into our room, and
naked.
He's like this, hopped up on protein shakes and creatine, like constantly, like jacked motherfucker, huge dude. And he freaking busts through the door, and he's like, "Guys, drop what you're doing. We got to go to the movies." And so also to give an idea, like I went to a school that's all about like broadcasting and, film and stuff like that. So like a bunch of us like just all look and like, we're just like trying to play Gears of War or something. And or so, I forget exactly what video game. Doesn't matter because like we're like, dude, can it wait? He's like, no, and he goes over and he turns off the Xbox. I'm like, dude,
that's a no.
He's like, seriously. He's like, I got the tickets already. He was like, I was on a date with this girl, and she told me she wanted to see this movie or whatever. And you don't get it. This guy's like a bros bro, and like he has to do stuff with his bros like all the time. And I don't know if he's still like that. I hope he is, because this was the funniest shit to me. Because apparently he had like dropped his date off at her house, and instead of like going in and like getting something out of this, he was just like, I gotta go to my homies. We gotta go watch this movie. And like, so he goes and like gets us, and we're just like, we go to the movie theater, and he's all excited. He's like a little kid in the seat, like waiting for the opening thing. He's like, yeah, I just watched this in like a normal movie theater. And so he's like, I wanted to see it in IMAX 3D. And there was a really nice IMAX theater near us. So we go to this thing, and we're like waiting there, and we're just like, man, I just want to go back and like, finish my game of Gears of War. We were getting towards the end of like the, because we were. I think it was Gears of War, because at the time we were trying to play through like all the storylines in like consecutive order, and like basically just something for fun and like do it on the hardest difficulty.
Oh yeah.
And so we're like, man, we could be like finishing up, General Ram fight right now, but we got to watch this stupid Disney movie because we're all afraid of this guy that's jacked as fuck.
Do whatever.
I think we have to go see this movie. It's gonna kill us.
Was that what it was? Tangled?
Yes, it was.
Oh,
Tangled.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's what this whole story is about. Is how I first saw Tangled and became in love with it. Because so he's all excited, and he has this stupid 3D glasses on and shit, and like because he wanted to see it in 3D. Because like he's like, there's this part that's really cool that I want to see, and I want to see what it looks like in 3D. And so I sit there, and at the beginning we were so against it, and I'm telling you, by the end, it was funny because there was like I remember there's like 4 chicks sitting behind us, and that was it. That was in the movie theaters, like a bunch of like these guys, One's like super jacked. I was a pretty big guy at the time because I still had like a bunch of my like, muscle mass and stuff from like high school football and all that. And like the rest of us just like regular old guys. And then, as I said, there's like these chicks behind us. And that was it. That was in the movie theater. And so by the end of it, like, towards the middle of it, we were more like animated than these chicks behind us enjoying the movie. It was the funniest shit I have ever seen, because like we were super into the movie. We're just like, anytime like Rapunzel would do something or whatever, like we were like cheering for her.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
And then of course the scene he wanted to see, and the reason we had to go there was because there was the lantern scene in the boat. And that did look cool in IMAX 3D.
Oh, I bet.
And so, like, the reason I've seen it like 30 times is because it got spread around this story at our college about these guys going to see Tangled and shit, and like, because like he must have like rushed past because we had like security for the dorms. We just like rushed past security, like, don't have time to check in, gotta get my bros and go see this movie. It starts in 30 minutes.
I mean, the animation is fantastic. It was it was the best part of Kingdom Hearts 3. Out of that trash can. It's like the only redeemable part of that game.
That trash can of a game. I did like the gummy ships, though.
Yeah, that part's always fun, but I don't know what God, what are you guys thinking? I don't want to get into Kingdom Hearts 3 right now, but we'll
we will get into that at some point. Well, I think this is a good segue into like fandoms and stuff like that, and watching stuff on Twitch that you shouldn't be.
Oh yeah. So do you want to take that away? So some people were apparently banned. Pokimane was banned for a little bit. Some other big streamers were banned for a little bit, and they were streaming MasterChef, right, or something like that.
Yes, MasterChef was the one. So this was my little foray that because Chris brought it up to me the other night. And I kind of was like, yeah, I heard about that. And it was funny for me because I was sick the one night or whatever. And like, I couldn't go to sleep. And so I just like stayed up all night, and I was just like playing Halo Infinite and stuff, and I had my phone out, and I was like, watching it, and in between games and stuff, and I was just trying to find like a Twitch stream or something to get my mind off the fact that I just been like exhausted, and like I had this freaking head, not the vid, it was not the COVID, but
there's nothing else exists.
Yeah, and I also get like pretty bad heartburn too, and so like that was messing with me, along with like just being whatever. Yeah. And so I come across this dude that normally what he does is he like broadcasts like League of Legends tournaments and stuff, and instead this time he had fucking Master Chef on. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? I was like, are you allowed to do that? And like the whole chat's like screaming for whatever character to get kicked off the show. And he's like, oh man, he was some streamer over in Europe, and he was he's like, oh, that like can't happen, man. That's real bad. I don't like this Leslie character. He's just like reacting like that to it. And I remember just like all night until the morning and stuff, I was just watching that, playing Halo, and just I watched like all of season 7 of Master Chef because of this guy. So I'm thinking about it, and you bring it up, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me. Yeah, they were like streaming the whatever, and what was it, XQC or whatever the heck that guy's name is? He was streaming. Yeah, he was streaming MasterChef, and then I also found out that they did more than just stream like MasterChef. They would stream like whole animes and shit. Yeah. And one of them was not an anime in that sense. It was Avatar. Was Pokemon's banning. Oh, yeah. She was. I don't know if she was reacting to a clip or if she was literally just had, which I wouldn't doubt it. She just had an episode up and was just watching an episode of Avatar. Yeah, because she's the most lazy streamer nowadays.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a couple months ago where people were saying like, who even used to be like fans of her, which are all simps. They said, just kidding. They just said, I want the simps to come after me.
Yeah, they will come after us.
Oh, white knights!
They went after It's a Gundam for her, and he's like a small ass. Well, I don't want to say small ass because that's degrading, I guess, but he's bigger than. Yeah, he's bigger than us right now, obviously. Yeah. But he went after It's a Gundam, and he said, It's a Gundam's not. He does this stuff all the time, and then he's like, I don't like what he said. Go on. And sent the simp army after him, took him down,
and that's like her content was just her watching YouTube and watching different videos, like
because she just got. I think honestly she's burnt out, and I watched in studying up on like the bannings and stuff like that. I kind of also tried to get myself familiar. And we do this all the time, by the way. Like when we're like Chris and I like. When we find out about something, we just kind of just look at what's going on and kind of try to get an overarching thing. At least that's what I did for this one anyways, try to figure out what is going on. And one of the things that you notice about Pokimane is it seems like she's like burnt out about being a streamer, which happens, I imagine.
Yeah.
And like I was watching some of like just like a breakdown of like her streams, how they've gotten progressively less about games and more about just chatting type of stuff.
Yeah,
because she's still going to make money no matter
what. Yeah,
she has her army of followers, so why not? It's an easy thing. There's so many times where it's like people will bring up like she did interviews before where she's like, Twitch streaming is the new radio, and with radio you don't want what? No dead air. And she did these stupid freaking interviews in the past talking about that, and like then people just like superimpose her on her stream, and she's sitting there just like eating noodles or something. Yeah. And it's just like for like 5 minutes straight. There's nothing.
Yeah, like eating on stream and stuff. Like, I mean,
I'm sorry. I think that's the dumbest thing. Like, if you can't even tell your stream like, hey guys, I'm gonna go take some lunch. Boop, hit the shut off button, go eat your lunch, come back and like, hey, I'm back, guys. But I guess they don't want to lose like any interaction and have like people go off to another stream. But I'm just like, that is so unprofessional. And I get they're not like these, big companies or whatever that have like, like Dateline and all that where obviously you're not going to see one of the hosts on Dateline or something like eating.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that though? And like like someone just like on the news, like, all right, in today's news, 13 children were murdered.
Yeah, cereal, you know. But yeah, they I mean, that's what I used to do. Like before, back when people know, I used to stream every single day, which I will agree, it does burn you out. Like when I was doing like 7 days a week for a while, I was just like, because I work 6 days a week, and then physical therapy every day, so I was just like, I can't do this anymore, man. I'm like, I gotta do something else. I can relate to the getting burned out, but you just gotta break it up, you know, take it, you know, do, you know, lower it to a couple days a week. But I know what I would just take a food break. Like I would put something up, or I would put like, you know, some clips, like recurring clips, or just something on the screen rather than me just eating straight to the camera or something. But I guess she kind of knows she can still get some like donations and stuff while she's doing it or whatever.
Yeah, well,
I don't know her
it's just pure laziness, and that's what the streaming and I think that's also why it got banned too, was the fact that it's just lazy streaming. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing else to it other than it's just laziness.
And she was.
I don't know why you need to like be like, oh, instead of playing a game tonight, chat, we're gonna watch MasterChef season 6.
Now I can understand like watch parties, which Amazon integrated with Twitch to do watch parties. Now everyone watching has to have Amazon Prime, but you know, and I get that. We watched a couple movies over Discord with my friends. I know, like around Christmas time, I was watching movies with my brother and my sister on Discord. Like I get watch parties, but it's totally different when you have an audience that wants to watch you play games and something. You're just kind of sitting there. You know, it's like a lazy teacher. Like, I watch this educational video. I'll be in the back. You know.
Yeah, I got a hangover.
You kids.
We always knew when this one teacher had a hangover, had a really late night of some sort. Because I swear to God, he brought out that TV faster than like any substitute teacher would. like the substitute teacher's like, well, I don't know what's going on, so here's the TV.
Yeah.
This one was just like, he'd come in and be like, look at it, take one look at it, be like, I am fucking doing this. All right, class, put your books away. We're gonna be watching this video.
Yeah,
whatever. And like, it's almost like he had these planned out. Like he knew, like, he was going to have like bad days throughout the school year, and he would just like, he had like,
I'm all ready to go.
Yeah, and then he'd have like a little handout, like, here, do the handout on this video we watched. And it was semi-educational, but in all honesty, it was just like a National Geographic, and he had like questions like, what was the animal at the beginning of the TV show? It was a fucking giraffe, I think. Luckily, this is multiple choice, and 2 of them are giraffes, so
but yeah,
go with giraffe.
But I think it's just the lazy streaming, and it also I think to go back to quartering a little bit, I think he even brought up the point that she got banned on Thursday or Friday, I forget when it was, so she had the weekend to chill anyways, and then right off the bat she already had a big stream, 12-hour stream plan for Monday, so it's allegedly, gotta say that, but it could be for the publicity, get the hype up, Twitch banned me, and of course they were saying like, oh, this is unjustified misogyny, all that stuff.
It's not unjustified. First off, it's and I don't understand these streamers that were like sticking. Well, I understand the streamers sticking up for her. I do. It's good for you. If you're sticking up for Pokimane, all of her people like, well, he must be a really nice guy. No, they're just sticking up for her because they want more followers. Yeah. I hate to be the guy that breaks the news for you, but sometimes people have other intentions for what they do.
Yeah, but they
anyways. Yeah, it sounds like that's what she did. She was basically like
for the hype
thing, and Viacom is I think they're the company, and they go after everybody for anything. Mm-hmm. If you bent over and you had I had a poster of one of their materials behind me, they'd be like, oh, gotta get him.
Yeah, I know they got really crazy with like the music and stuff like that. They did put out something recently where Twitch said like we still don't encourage you to play music, but they like loosened up on it or whatever. I remember one time when I was streaming, I got a stream pretty much the entire thing muted because my roommate at the time was playing music down the hall. I personally couldn't even hear it, but I guess my mic picked it up somehow. And then you need like half my stream. That I think is a little ridiculous. I'm like, come on. You're going to mute my entire stream, like,
and that's understandable to be upset with. But like, if you're just streaming Avatar, like
streaming Avatar or throw on Spotify and just play an entire album of someone, like,
I'm pretty sure that counts for not fair use.
Yeah, that's not.
Because fair use has to deal with like you actually changing
it.
Like you have to like do something to make it different than what it's originally, and I don't know exactly legalese wise, like what
when
you have to do.
Yeah,
but it has to shape it in a different way where like it's more than just like the fresh and fit bros going fair use.
Yeah, like I get flagged pretty much anytime I do like a reaction video or something. Like for example, the Tom McDonald video I did got flagged right away for copyright. But I send in an appeal and I just say it's under fair use, and they like 99% of the time will honor it. You know. But you have to be able to change the content enough, be talking over it, commentary. You know, I can't just like, all right, here's this music video, and then take me out of the screen and just play it. That's stealing someone's content. And you have people like, who's that dude, Hassan or whatever? That's like,
Hassan. Yep.
Ethan's,
boy toy.
Yeah, boy toy. He's like,
it was Ethan the boy toy. I can't.
I don't know. Either way, I mean. One of them's the power bottom, and
it doesn't matter. I'm sure during their sex play, Ethan will have someone do the dirty work for him.
Pretty much anytime there's any conflict. That's right.
Tag in.
I'm not going to do it for me. Well, I'm not good at doing that thing, so why would I do that?
I'm not good at debating, and I'm not good at sex, so I'm going to have someone else do it for me.
Then why did you agree to do it, you idiot?
Or if he'll have Sam Cedar do that podcast that they're starting for him.
See, that's what they didn't get. It's like he was like I'm not a great speaker, if that wasn't already obvious. Like I'm not, I don't do it for a living. I remember one of the most hated things in school was talking in front of the class and stuff. So I get when people say like, oh, I'm just not a good debater and stuff. Like that's fine. I know JonTron gave that excuse when he was like, look, I screwed up. I'm not a great debater.
Yeah, that was awful. I watched that. It was painful to listen to.
Like
I kind of understood what he was trying to get at, but I'm just like, man, you suck at this. He obviously led you into a trap.
Like anyone.
That was my favorite class in not in high school, in college, was the debate. It was a
debate club.
I don't know if it was a debate club, but it was a class that had to deal specifically on like public speaking and debate.
No, okay.
And that was like my favorite class, and I freaking passed that. Whatever, like flying colors. It was if you haven't noticed, guys, I love to just talk.
Yeah, well, that's why, like, when I first came up with the podcast idea, I'm like, I don't want to do this alone. I need a friend to do this with. And Adam was like first on my list, like, because I'm like, well, we share similar views. He's really good at talking. I think he'd make the perfect co-host. Plus, a lot of my friends, like, they're political, but not as political as me. Like, most of the time, like, every once in a while we'll discuss some political topics, but a lot of times if I try to
but they don't really dive into
they don't dive deep. Like sometimes I'll be going like crazy with like, oh, this thing happened on January 6th, and then I'll be talking about it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's crazy anyways. Like
that's I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Yeah, like they don't want to get into it as I do, and
don't worry, my wife does that to me. She'll be like, Vanessa, there's this thing going on, and there's like, missiles coming down, and I disagree with it. And she's like, cool story, bro.
So like, I'm like, I want to talk about this stuff. I got to rant about this stuff. It's a little therapeutic, a little fun. And I'm like, I can't just. I got to yap, man. I got to get this, off my chest. So
get it off my chest.
Yeah. So I'm like, I gotta start a podcast. I'm like, Adam, you want to, fire up this podcast? You want to go? And
I was like, yeah, I like to bitch about stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, you like to bitch. I like to bitch. Let's do it. And of course, like, episode 2 right now, and which is a perfect segue to me saying we are on audio, Spotify, Google Pocket Cast. The reason I'm mentioning that is because it was not live before, and I didn't realize I had a link on my account. So letting everyone know they are live now, and you can even listen to this if you're on the go or whatever. And we're on. I lied about Gab TV. They have a minimum. Like 2 gig minimum to upload, so I got to figure out how to compress the file, and then maybe I'll throw it up on there. But we're on Rumble and YouTube, locals, and all that. Just throwing it out there. As I forgot to mention,
I actually like Rumble. I wish Rumble was a whole lot bigger and more people would like. Because to be honest, I like overall like the Rumble space more because like they don't ban you for every little thing like YouTube does.
Yeah, I like Rumble. The UI like on the creators end needs a little work. It's not the prettiest
it's
UI.
It's not the prettiest.
Yeah.
No.
They need a little bit of work. But Odyssey's also, I don't know if you use Odyssey, but the thing I like about Odyssey is anytime I upload to YouTube, it's automatically on Odyssey, so I don't have to I don't have to go from site to site. And they're really pro free speech. They're kind of trolls on their Twitter's hilarious to follow. But they're a really good platform, very clean setup. Now, Gab TV, of course, deserves some credit. Well, just Gab in general. They built everything from the ground up. As I was saying, a lot of these alt tech platforms, if they're on the App Store, if they haven't been taken off the App Store, there's something up. Like they're not fully free speech if they're allowed to be on the App Store. And it's kind of like the point Gab was making. Like, look at we were full free speech, and we can't even be on the App Store anymore. You have to go to their website to get the app and all that. But they're taking the liberals say, if you don't like it, just build your own.
Yes, and then you just build it, do it.
And Gab's took that literally. They are building their entire infrastructure from the ground up. They're building their own YouTube, which is Gab TV. They're working on kind of what it sounded like was their own PayPal. They also said something, they were describing it sounded like an eBay sort of thing. Like they're literally making all their own stuff. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Gab because I think what they're doing is pretty awesome. And what was I going to say about, because I mentioned January 6th, I just wanted to mention the whole, because we'll start to wrap it up soon, but the have you even followed January 6th a lot, like all that? Like,
to be honest, not really, just because that's one topic where, like, because of how much of a nothing burger it was, I just hate when they just, like, constantly drum it up, like, oh, man, it's the worst thing ever. It's so bad. It's Pearl Harbor 2.0 and this and that.
It's crazy.
And I just haven't been following it because I just kind of got depressed about it, because you think about it, like those people are being held, without even being charged with anything yet, and
some of them
it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they that's what I was saying. Like they're not even charged yet, and some of them are or had their trials or anything yet, and they're being some of them are in solitary confinement. They're not allowed to speak to their lawyers for more than a few minutes. They had that one guy who wasn't getting he had cancer, and he wasn't getting his proper treatment or anything, and finally, after so much blowback, they got a judge to sign off on it, and he was allowed out to get his treatment and all that.
That's just craziness to me, because I don't even agree with anything that they did. I think if you're going to be doing something like if you're going to go to Trump's rally or whatever, like, I wouldn't have even gone to the protest. Like, just don't go anywhere near that. Yeah, because that to me just screams like there were government agents mixed in amongst the public, trying to start shit, because they've been known to do that before.
Yeah, I mean, they planned the whole freaking that's why they're like, do you think FBI and all that would actually do that? I'm like, well, they planned an entire kidnapping with Governor Whitmore. So I think they would do that.
When that came out, I was like, you gotta be fucking shitting me.
They planned a whole freaking kidnapping.
They were like, so there's like 25 to 30 guys, and they were like 15 of them.
Yeah, and
there's like it's just the Spider-Man meme, except it's all FBI agents.
Yeah, they're all pointing at each other. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, that's why I was like, do you think people put so much trust in our government and our FBI and authorities and all that? I'm like, I do not trust them. I'm like, so yes, I think they would stage January 6th. I'm not saying the whole thing was staged, obviously, but there were like the Ray Epps guy with
so freaking weird with him. I know I said I didn't know much about it, but it seems like I actually do know a decent chunk. But that was so weird that they were just like, yeah, he's not with us. Don't worry about it, but we're just not going to charge him.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was the weirdest thing. I'm like, you're not going to charge them? Like, you had people who were not even in the Capitol who were standing there, no violence, didn't break anything, didn't hurt anybody, and they're over a year now, some of them thrown in solitary confinement. They are their living conditions are horrible. I was listening to a guy who was able to call in the Dennis Prager show. Surprisingly, they gave him like, a half hour to talk. The warden, and he was saying like they don't give them proper hygiene. They don't give them any barber service. He said all the water's muddy, the toilets are backed up. He said they'll occasionally pull people out of their cells and beat the shit out of them for like no reason, which is covered in the Tucker Carlson documentary. I highly recommend everybody go watch Patriot Purge, by the way. You can get a free month, and it was an excellent documentary. It's insane what they're going through. Like, they were being treated like they're terrorists, worse. And none of them are even charged with insurrection. That's why they're like, how can you guys say it's not an insurrection? I'm like, literally no one was charged with that. So what are you talking about?
Also, like, when you look at it too, like, an insurrection normally means like they have a way to like actually take over the government. You know what I mean?
And you need weapons, which they had none of.
They had nothing there. Like, it took literally, once the police actually showed up to like escort them out of the building, it took them less than an hour to get everyone off the premises.
Yeah,
there's so much for an insurrection. I was like, they couldn't even hold up properly.
Yeah, I was like, because I was at work when I saw it, and I was just like, oh man, they shouldn't be doing that. And then I went to go do something because I was at work, and for a few minutes, and then or maybe like an hour, and then I came back and they're already cleaning it up. I'm like, wow, that was quick. That was
They went in, they got Nancy Pelosi's laptop.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that laptop. By the way.
But yeah,
I want to know if she watches midget porn, and I think she does. She looks like the type. She looks like a ghoulish goblin type of person. So maybe she likes smaller people.
My God, it was a setup. The hair salon set me off. I still can't.
Oh my God! Yeah, it was. She went in there. She knew what was going on. It's like, oh, is that a camera there? I hope that's not used against me.
I'm not gonna apologize. The only people that should apologize is the hairdresser. I'm like, the audacity of this bitch. I'm like, she's.
I feel like there's just like, if you're a Democrat and you are a congressman or woman or whatever, you just have to be like a mega biatch. You just have to have that mega biatch, whatever. Like the type that would, when everybody else is like not able to get enough food and shit, and they're locked in their home, she's like, guys, look at my ice cream collection.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you feel bad for the American people. But yeah, you guys are losing your jobs. We're forcing you.
We're all in this together. Now look at all these ice creams I have.
That's what I hate.
Then her husband's over there like drinking like, I hate you.
Yeah.
I hope you die. I'm going to use you and tan you and use you as my new leather boots. I won't even have to do much with the way your skin is.
Just kidding, you two. Haha. But about the
well, I didn't say it. That was her husband.
Oh yeah, her husband said it. I mean, But yeah, the about the Ray Epps thing real quick, because I want to show a clip here. So they're throwing people in jail with these horrible conditions. Some of them are beaten to a bloody pulp, which is covered really well in the Tucker Carlson documentary, and they have people who for nothing are thrown in what they call the hole, or no lights, no sound, no windows. They're just thrown in this.
It's basically an auditory and visual deprivation chamber for the most part. Yeah,
and some of them are thrown in there for no reason. I think they said they get like less than an hour. Actually, I think the judge someone said they gave them the okay to allow them to have 2 hours of free time, but they're treated like worse than terrorists in there. So I'm like, you guys are going that crazy over some of these non-violent and the violent people. I was like, look, anyone who broke any windows, hurt any cops should get in trouble. However, I think over a year of some of this, in many ways,
I think they've been punished enough for their crime at this point.
Yeah, some of it's like legit torture, I would say, and I was like, I think over a year of what's like pretty bad torture is punishment enough. I think and then you got the biggest example is the Buffalo guy, the shaman.
Oh yeah, the freaking QAnon shaman or whatever
he didn't hurt
him.
anybody. He didn't break any property. He didn't steal anything. The worst he did was scribble something on Mike Pence's desk or whatever, or Pelosi's desk. That's the worst thing he did. And he's getting up to like 5 years now in prison, which is
it's
insane.
ridiculous.
And you have people in BLM who've murdered people. They're not even looking for the dude who murdered David Dorn. And there was over 40 murders. Half of them were black, by the way. So I mean, I don't know what the hell.
Well, there's also that I don't know if they did anything with that Antifa guy that shot the one Trump supporter. They're like, they're like, oh, there's MAGA people over here, and then you hear like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm just like, they just fucking shot that guy.
Summer of Love.
I didn't even know if he was a MAGA supporter.
And they called that mostly peaceful. Anybody who got arrested, they just bailed right out. They had those lawyers who mobbed.
Well, it was more than just bail out. They started a fund for these motherfuckers.
Kamala Harris and celebrities and didn't matter. They caused billions of dollars in damages, hurt people. So I mean, look at these store owners who tried to protect what was theirs, and they're awful, beaten to a bloody pulp. You see them all crumpled up on the ground. They were beaten so bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It was very, very bad.
That's why I always hate when people brush over injuries. They'll be like, oh, it wasn't too bad, 2 dead, 40 injured. I'm like, that's still a big deal. Some of these people are going to be in wheelchairs and life-threatening conditions for the rest of their life. You can't just brush over injuries.
Well, also, you have to look at the fact that, so we're comparing these two, January 6th and these riots, just non-stop riots too. We're talking several weeks-long riots at some of these areas.
Yeah, they still go on here and there.
We're talking about one day versus several weeks, and I just don't get I'm pissed about both.
Yeah,
but I don't see that from the other side. They just don't care that a ton of people got shot and shit.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. It's the biggest thing of the hypocrisy where all that happened, and they said, Kamala Harris with her, they're not going to stop, and they shouldn't stop, and bailed everybody out. They're encouraging it. You have freaking Maxine Waters, the 200-year-old senator, was literally inciting violence by definition. She. Nothing. Not even a slap on her wrist and inciting violence. That's right.
She was
several times.
Unless we get the outcome we want, this shouldn't stop, and we won't stop, or whatever the heck she said. And that's telling people to go make a crowd, or was she the same one that said that?
Yeah, and she said we need to. I believe the word she used was get more aggressive or confrontational in the streets. But that's totally fine. That is not considered inciting violence. But Trump saying march peacefully and patriotically, quote.
They edited that part out.
Yeah, dude, his lawyer.
He didn't say it.
Yeah, dude. I was actually watching the impeachment. Their lawyers eviscerated the Democrats. It was almost hard to watch. They were destroying them. They doctored evidence. They lied about the dates and these tweets they threw out. I mean, if you have to make up evidence, even if it's something small.
Whoa. Prosecutors doctoring evidence and stuff, that doesn't happen.
Never heard of that before. But I'm getting a little off track now. But what I wanted to show was the Ray Epps thing. Let me try to
put it up.
So. See if I can this is why I don't like Discord. There we go. Move that. There we go. So Adam can see what I'm looking at. You can see that, right?
Yes, I can.
All right. So here, this should be the most frightening thing to everybody. What's going on right here? Let's watch.
I want to turn to the FBI. How many FBI agents or confidential informants actively participated in the events of January 6th?
Sir, I'm sure you can appreciate that I can't go into the specifics of sources and methods.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants actively participate in the events of January 6th? Yes or no?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants commit crimes of violence on January 6th?
I can't answer that, sir.
Did any FBI agents or FBI informants actively encourage and incite crimes of violence on January 6th?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Ms. Sadburn,
Insane.
who is Ray Epps?
I'm aware of the individual, sir. I don't have the specific background to him.
Well, there are a lot of people who are understandably very concerned about Mr. Epps. On the night of January 5th, 2021, Epps wandered around the crowd that had gathered, and there's video out there of him chanting, "Tomorrow, we need to get into the Capitol, into the Capitol." This was strange behavior, so strange that the crowd began chanting, "Fed, Fed, 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 Fed." Ms. Sandberg, was Ray Epps a Fed?
Sir, I cannot answer that question.
Of course you can't.
The next day, on January 6th, Mr. Epps is seen whispering to a person, and 5 seconds later, 5 seconds after he's whispering to a person, that same person begins to forcibly tear down the barricades. Did Mr. Epps urge them to tear down the barricades?
Sir, similar to the other answers, I cannot answer that.
Shortly thereafter, the FBI put out a public post seeking information on individuals connected with violent crimes on January 6th. Among those individuals, in the bottom there, is Mr. Epps. The FBI publicly asked for information, offering cash rewards leading to information leading to the arrest. This was posted, and then, sometime later, magically, Mr. Epps disappeared from the public posting. According to public records, Mr. Epps has not been charged with anything. No one's explained why a person videoed urging people to go to the Capitol, a person whose conduct was so suspect the crowd believed he was a Fed, would magically disappear from the list of people the FBI...
Shit, we uploaded the wrong photo.
Ms. Sandburn, a lot of Americans are concerned that the federal government deliberately encouraged illegal and violent conduct on January 6th. My question to you, and this is not an ordinary law enforcement question, this is a question of public accountability. Did federal agents or those in service of federal agent actively encourage violent and criminal conduct on January 6th?
Boop, boop.
Boop, boop.
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Pretty much it.
Senator Leahy?
Oh my God.
Let's close this. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have these people that they arrested a freaking granny for taking a selfie. Like, yeah. But you let this guy off the hook within a day. Like, I'm not going to bring up the tweet, but Adam Kinzinger, you know, who's a Republican on the January 6th committee, which is a joke. He put out this long thread, like they're in overtime after this hearing, and he was like, "We looked in the Ray Epps, and he did nothing wrong. He was actually a peaceful protester, so we cleared him." Like you called them terrorist, insurrectionist, worst.
Didn't he like tear down a gate?
Yeah, he's clearly inciting people to break into the Capitol, go into the Capitol, and that he's just off the hook. So you arrest an old granny, you throw some of these people who are sitting outside not hurting anybody, you throw them in solitary confinement, all this stuff, all this horrible, horrible treatment for over a year. But Ray Epps, he's gone in a day. He's fine. We looked at him. He's good. And apparently they said like years ago, like in the 80s or something, he did do some kind of, I don't know if it was informant or something with the feds.
Yes, he was an informant. I did read somewhere that like he was involved with them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're clearly in cleanup mode, and they're trying to clear them. Like, oh yeah, of course he was an informant, but he's not now. You know.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't believe, and there's other people too that we'll get into in another episode or something. But they're on the bullhorns. They're totally clear. They're not being investigated into. Like saying going to the Capitol, and we see in there's some footage in the Tucker Carlson documentary where they said everything was chill for a while. Everything was cool. They're all sitting there, and said all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, they're being pelted with tear gas grenades. He said that's when the shit hit the fan. People started pushing each other, And there's even
Right.
some video where the guy who had his feet up on Pelosi's desk, you know, everyone's seen that photo by now, and he's actually holding on, and you hear people saying, "Don't go in," and he's like, they're pushing me, you know, and people are being, that's what I'm saying, like, obviously there were real Trump supporters there, but I truly believe that there are people in the crowd inciting the violence and all that. Like, something's not right. There's like 10,000 hours of footage they're refusing to release. And then you got the whole Trump requesting the National Guard, and they shut it down. Pelosi and the mayor said no.
Yeah.
Then the biggest thing that I want to know is, why did they take down the barricades? I want to, like, that cop in the video who you see take down the barricades, and then he waves everybody in. You might have seen it by now.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did he do that? If you're trying to keep somebody out, that's like somebody's trying to break in your house, and you just open the door and be like, "I just come in." He's gonna break it down anyway, you know.
Did I mention there's a nice 70-inch flat screen TV downstairs?
There you go. You know, steal it, wreck it, whatever you want.
What am I gonna do?
I don't know. I think the best, if you wanted to keep people out of the Capitol, maybe you shouldn't have removed the barricades, and maybe you shouldn't have unlocked and opened the door. Like, is that
Maybe.
That's it? Isn't that some kind of entrapment? Like, they opened up the doors and said, "Come on in." They walk in, and then boom, you're hit with trespassing, and you're thrown in jail for a year. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, how can they do that?
What I don't, and you know what actually kind of pisses me off about that video the most is the fact that it's Ted Cruz bringing it up, and he was the one that recently called them terrorists.
Yeah, well, not good, not good.
But like, if someone like that, who obviously, I don't know if he's flip flopping or whatever, he actually thinks, I don't know what's. But like, if he's able to like look at that and go like, something doesn't add up here, like,
yeah,
I think it's safe to say that like your general person that's out there is your general person that just kind of can just look at it at something and just kind of put the puzzle pieces together. I think most people are going to look at that and go, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, even Rogan
my
brought
logic.
it up. Yeah, even Rogan brought it up, saying like, this is weird, like, isn't it? And he's bringing up like, who is this guy? Look at all the stuff leading up to it. Like, people are starting to like people who aren't even like, you know, these, you know, far right people, even though they consider Joe Rogan far right now, but everybody
which is really stupid if you know anything about Joe Rogan.
Well, it just shows that they don't
not even close to right wing.
Yeah, that just goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of the podcast, that we watch them, they don't watch us. They don't know anything other than the out of context clips that CNN and these other leftists put out, and that's the image we have. Oh, I saw him say this thing. He's horrible. I don't know, my TV just shut off, but they
oh well.
They just have these chopped up out of context views, and that's where they're like, all right, he's a racist, he's a bigot. Like, they don't take the chance to discuss or debate, and that's where they're getting so mad. Again, going back to the beginning of the podcast with the quartering stuff, like, why are you talking to these people? They are bigots or sexists. I saw it on CNN. And now that
they don't allow for any talk. They don't want it.
And that's why that Lauren, the showrunner of Witcher, is like so confused with everything, because she did what no leftist does and actually decided to open up the conversation and listen to the other side. And she's kind of saying like, this guy's not like so bad, like, we disagree, but we're having a friendly conversation, like, isn't that good? And she keeps questioning every tweet. She's like, isn't this, I thought this was a good thing, like, and they're just like, no, he's a bigot, he's a racist. And that's what like a lot of people on the left, they don't get. And I think if they gave more chances like Lauren's given, it would be a lot better for the world if people would just listen. Like, I have a lot of friends on the left. We could not disagree more on politics. I lived with someone for well over a year who was far left, but we got along great. We still hang out. It's got along. If people just stop being tribalistic with everything, that we can get along better. It would be a lot better. But they don't realize, like, you guys are the ones. They're like, look at all this division and hate. You know, it's horrible. Trump did this. It's like, no.
Yeah, I wonder how we got there.
You're doing that. They're like, like that tweet I just showed you, where they're like, we shouldn't be tolerant of intolerant people. It's like,
that's so oxymoronic.
They have no self-awareness at all. It's
like that could be in the dictionary definition of oxymoron. Just like post that, like, look at this guy, he's an idiot.
But yeah, I think
tolerance of intolerance.
Yeah. But I think that's the theme of today's podcast is just if you want to help with the hatred, the division, start by doing what Lauren, the showrunner from The Witcher's doing, is listening to the other side. You don't always have to agree 100% with somebody. You can disagree here and there, but overall, you can find some common ground. It's kind of like how people are with candidates. I was just thinking, because Trump's getting a lot of flack because he keeps talking about the vaccine and his base doesn't like it. But I'm like, all right, like, look, he does have a little bit of an ego issue.
Well, he's also a germaphobe, so he is always going to be 100% vaccine.
Yeah, that's what people don't get. I'm like,
he's a germaphobe.
Yeah, he's a germaphobe, and the vaccine, everyone left, obviously, it's the best thing ever, as they say, and he just wants credit. It's a little bit of his ego again. He just wants credit. He wants to say, this thing you love, I did it. Like, give me credit. And that's why he keeps mentioning it over and over again. But I'm like, the base doesn't realize, I'm like, he's against the mandates. He even put out a statement saying how proud he was of the Supreme Court for shutting it down. It goes back to my point, like, you're not always going to agree with someone 100% of the time. There's no human being in existence that you're going to agree with 100% of the time. And that's what because I was defending Trump, and I'm like, I'm starting to get flack from some of his core base and stuff. I was like, this is weird. Like, what is going on? But like, look, he loves the vaccines. He's not going to force you to get it. I do think if he wants to run and win in 2024, he needs to tone down the praise. Maybe not say the other day he said people who don't announce their booster status, or Republicans who don't announce their booster status, are like gutless or cowards or whatever he said. Maybe don't say stuff like that. And maybe start talking about.
This is Trump we're talking about. Are you kidding? He's going to say whatever the hell he wants.
That's why people like him. He says what he wants, doesn't care.
That's also why people didn't like him too. He just said everything. Yeah. It's like, let's calm down.
That's why people don't really want people who are honest, because I'm like, if you get if everyone was 100% honest, you get more people like Trump. So you're not going to like people being honest. So you really don't like honesty.
Well, it's also more like, okay, so. Yeah, the theme of this podcast, I guess, is also like, let's not be so tribalistic. Let's talk to the other side. But like, all it actually stems down to is just straight up laziness. It was something that I said in the first episode about people not taking responsibility and just like doing their own research. And that's what it is. It's just laziness. And you can, like, holy crap, it ties into what we were talking about with the Twitch streamers. It's just people get lazy. And they don't want to have to think, because thinking is it's hard sometimes. Yeah, it's like
my brain.
Yeah, my brain. And it's really just laziness. It's like, instead of like taking the time and actually like, because it's annoying for me too, because sometimes I can't stand listening to like the other side on certain things. Like, but I will sit down and like give it the good old college try and be like, well, wait a minute, why does Hassan say this stupid thing? Why is Ethan being, this way? Why is he trying to ban people again?
Try to understand it.
And like, so I will take time out of my day to just like watch one of their stupid like 15-minute videos.
Yep.
And
there we go.
your thing went out.
All right. Well, this is going to be the obvious cut that I'm going to edit later. So give me 1 second.
But just do you want me to keep talking, or do you want me to? Do you want to keep going? All right. Just to fill in time. But this is the obvious point that I'm trying to make is, if you're just not lazy about something and you take the time to research the other side or whatever, not only will you find not necessarily, you don't even have to find a middle ground, because I think that's a stupid thing. Like, you don't need to find a middle ground on everything, because sometimes, like, for instance, if I am, anti-abortion and you're pro-abortion, right? We're not going to find a middle ground, because you think it's okay to have an abortion and I think it's not okay. There's no middle ground on that topic.
Right.
Like, you're either for killing the baby or you're not. There's no middle ground. So I think what it is instead of us just being lazy and tribal, as you were saying, like, if we just take time to just understand that other side, it's going to end up better in the long run. Because not only can you strengthen your point of view, but you can also strengthen your ideals. You can strengthen your thought process. You'll become quicker to, quicker to not necessarily defend yourself, because not everybody's out to attack you, but quicker to, have a good rebuttal to like someone who challenges something. Because let's be honest, like, you're never going to ever stop having someone criticize you, because or criticize your opinions on stuff.
Yeah,
that's always going to happen, and that's what the left kind of doesn't like, and that's why they have these little bubbles, these safe spaces.
Yep.
And if they just don't like something, and rather than having to deal with that criticism, they just push it out.
Yep.
Which is what they were trying to do with the
cancel.
quartering and
Lauren.
Lauren,
Showrunner. Yeah.
the showrunner. They don't want her to be exposed to that, because they're like, oh man, if she's exposed to that, they might realize that the other side is just people.
Yep. It was like, that's why they got mad at Jimmy Fallon, when Jimmy Fallon humanized Trump because he had him on a show joking around.
Right.
The whole mess the hair thing. You humanize them. How dare you? They're like, we need to treat them like dirt. They are Satan. It's like, because they think we're evil, where we kind of just think they're wrong,
Well,
exceptions
and
to
that's
everything in life. But
it's almost like it's this weird flip-flop of our culture, where, like, I remember back in the day being told, because I grew up in a very, very Christian household, and my mom, though, was not like one of these uber Christians who was like, oh, you can't do this and that because Jesus said,
said so.
Jesus said so because of horns, and there's horns on that character, and horns represent the devil, so whatever. She was never that type. I think she used it one time on us, but it was just because she was tired of us rewatching the same Power Ranger movie over and over. It was like we watched it for the 30th time. She's like, no, we can't watch this anymore. And we're like, why, Mom? It was like
Demon.
the third time. It was like the third time of us like replaying the thing. She's like, Satan or something. And so she just took it out.
I was like, I wasn't allowed to play Pokemon because of that. Yeah, I was like, she gave me that for the Pokemon. I wasn't allowed to play it for some reason because they said it looked demonic or sounded demonic. And...
we should definitely do that in the next podcast.
Yeah.
I have good stories about that stuff because I love Pokemon. Yeah, but my mom always told us to think for ourselves and to question. And one of the core tenets of Christianity is questioning your faith.
Yep.
Like that's like one of the big things that people don't realize about it, because they see all the the TV pastors and stuff, and they see all the people on there that represent this what's the word, this cookie cutter, like the
I don't know.
I'm not sure what word I'm looking for here, but it's there we go, stereotypical Christian, and they don't realize that's not every one of them. And they kind of have now done kind of the same thing that you see on the stereotypical Christians, where they ban everything, and now it's kind of flip-flopped, and we have now the left is like, we're the new Christians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean the new stereotypical Christian, like they're the religious, bigots and the authoritarians now.
Yeah.
But it's, instead of it being like an actual religion, it's a non-theistic religion or cult or whatever you want to call it.
It is like a cult, yeah.
And they want to make sure that their masses don't have access to information, because if they learn one thing, then, oh man, they might, expand their borders and realize that, Pokemon is not from the devil, it's just Japanese culture.
Yeah, and then if
you know what I mean?
If more people think it for themselves, or they might have some people leaning away and start to lose some votes. And if they lose votes, then they can't stay in power. And if they can't stay in power, then they can't make money. And they'll do anything to keep that power. They'll do anything to keep that money, which is why it's always, everything is so over the top. January 6th was 9/11 mixed with the Holocaust. It was the worst thing ever. Trump is literally Hitler. 9
million people died. It was like the killing fields of Pol Pot.
Yeah, it was like that Supreme Court justice, whatever her name was, where she's like, over 100,000 kids are dying in the hospital, and it's like, where are you getting this from?
My God!
I'm like, we have someone on the Supreme Court that is that stupid, and then the other justice was like, there are 750 million COVID cases right now. I'm like, isn't that a little bit more than our population? I mean, how is that?
It's about double our population.
Like,
about double our population. It's almost the population of bigger population countries like India and China. But so if you know, if you combine the positive test results in China, which we'll never know,
Yeah.
but, and ours, maybe we get.
We got one way taking care of sick people. You know, I saw that meme from what was in China. They were making a meme of North Korea, and they're like, "Look how they're keeping their COVID cases down." It's like COVID case 1. It's like next day 0. COVID cases 1. Next day 0.
Yeah, they just keep killing them.
We got our cases down. You know,
We're keeping them down.
yeah. Which, I mean, at this point, cases don't matter. I mean, we have so many
No, they don't.
therapeutics, and and Omicron, it's hardly a cold. You know, it's like.
Yeah, I think overall we've gotten to the point where just let the medicine do its job.
Yeah.
Just like the medical field knows what it's doing there.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to Pope Fauci,
Yeah.
you know, anymore. Like, what does he know? He's been wrong about everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like we always gotten sick over the years. Yes, there was always a chance we could die from the flu and some other diseases out there, but we understood that and we went about our lives.
Yeah, let the real doctors do their jobs. How about we just do that for once?
No, they're fake doctors.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
It's crazy. They're like, follow the science, listen to the doctors, and a doctor would be like, "Well, I think this therapeutic's really good." And they're like, "Ban him." And I'm like,
"They don't like that. We need. Don't you know we need to like jab people with the vaccine?"
Yeah. I'm like, I thought you just said listen to the doctors. Like, well, not that doctor. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
And that doctor's like, "Well, I don't think my patient can take the vaccine because he has an autoimmune disease that he'll have a severe reaction and go into anaphylactic shock." Well, we think you should be banned.
Yeah, and
I don't care about your patient. Give him the vaccine. I don't care if he's gonna die.
Yeah, and there's even places like New York are saying they're not making an exemption for people like that. Like if you have some kind of immune disorder,
which is really stupid.
You can't go to Applebee's now or whatever it is because isn't that insane? Like.
And it's just dumbness too, because it's like there are certain people that literally cannot have this vaccine. Like this is not like an opinion piece. This isn't like my, whatever. I'm not trying to, give advice.
We're not giving advice whatsoever.
Yeah, this isn't an advice thing. This is just a literal fact. There are people who cannot take this vaccine or any vaccine, not just this one. It's any vaccine.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you have to mandate this, and then they're going as far as to say, "Oh, we're not going to have medical exemptions."
Yeah.
Why? We've always had medical exemptions for shit.
And it's crazy.
There's been medical exemptions for every known medicine out there.
Yeah.
There are certain I couldn't take. So I had some high blood pressure for a while, and there was this one medicine that it just had a bad reaction with me. Where and they test you for it. It like so for some reason this thing like some people's kidneys cannot handle it, and it like goes and it like starts to shut down your kidneys. I took this medicine. They did a test and like, yep, it's starting to affect your kidneys. You can't have it.
Oh.
And there was just like, which was unfortunate because apparently it's like a really good one.
Yeah.
And it's the reason that I guess it affects the kidneys. It's also like, I guess, a dual treatment type of thing where it's like, it can be used for high blood pressure, but it also is like a kidney treatment drug.
Yeah.
So like, it can sometimes have adverse effects in people. And I was just one of the people that had the adverse effects.
Yeah.
And that's how it has always been with anything. Some people cannot have certain medicines because they have a certain gene type or, there's something in their, genetic code that says, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
And now we're treating them like... No, keep going.
Yeah, continue. Yeah,
I was going to say, but we're treating those people like they're horrible, that they're, less than dirt. And that's what goes behind it, too. It's like, everyone's like, oh, there's places where they have mandates, like schools have them and all. I'm like, nothing was like this before. I don't care. You're talking about the Spanish flu, whatever it is. Nothing was like this before, where it's the demonization behind it too. Like, it's Gina Carano was right, when she was making the comparison, talking about just how people are demonizing each other over just views and stuff, because that's what it's becoming.
Yeah, and small little shit too.
Yeah.
And that's how they can get away with it, because then you have I hate to call them the sheep, as you call them, but because I don't think it's fair, because I think some people just it's not that they're sheep,
they just don't know any better.
And part of that is the laziness that I was talking about. They just don't care enough. It's apathy. Yeah. It's just apathy. And so there's just a lot of these people that they'll look at you and be like, oh, well, they just said this small. They're just it's just this small little thing that they said. Who cares?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, that's also how it turns into big things where all of a sudden now it's like you can't have a job if you don't have, this card or that card.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it gets to
insane.
that point.
Yeah.
Like, they go after the small stuff first, and then they just slowly get bigger, bigger until all of a sudden it's like you can't travel anywhere unless you have, a social credit score of 900 or higher.
Yeah, I think of that really good clip. I'll link in the description if I can find it, of Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about how, that's how tyranny happens in the takeover. He's like, I'm gonna, push you just a little bit, and you're not gonna notice, and push. I'm not gonna go over it because he does it way better. And so eventually, I keep pushing you little by little, just little, and you don't argue with me, you don't fight back, and eventually, before you know it, you realize that, like, how far away you are. Like, I pushed you to that point, and you didn't realize because it took a little bit at a time. And he's like, and that's how they do it. And if we don't start doing something about it now, then it's only going to get worse. I don't know. The Supreme Court was like a half win. We got the mandates shut down for large businesses, which I think in the end it really won't matter because I feel like some people are still going to do it.
Well, a lot of the corporations are on the side of the government anyway, so they're still going to do a lot of these mandates and stuff. But you're right. It's one of those things where, and that's something that I think is the problem with conservatives on the right is they don't push back.
Yeah. They don't fight.
As you were saying, it's like push a little bit, push a little bit, push a little bit, and the next thing you know, it's like, shit, I'm at the edge and I'm already on the train tracks, about ready to get hit.
Yeah, it's too late at that point. Yeah,
all you gotta do is hog tie me at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's why people like Trump so much because he was.
I actually like Tim Pool's assessment of him, where he's like the bull in the China shop, in the ivory. Well, I think he says the ivory tower or whatever.
Yeah,
he's the bull in the ivory tower, like smashing it up, and the people are like, "Oh, why did this happen?"
Yeah, that's why people always wonder, like, why is there such a big following for him? So it's because he woke conservatives up. Conservatives were like comatose before Trump, and that he created fighters. He created people finally speaking out, speaking their mind, and they loved it. It was like the first time ever where, like, conservatives felt like they could say whatever they want, they could fight back,
do whatever, what the left does, and actually push back. Yeah,
and they're finally we have someone who's pushing back, not perfect, made a lot of mistakes, but he was a fighter.
A ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
I was not a big Trump MAGA guy. Like, I don't even have a "Make America Great Again" hat or anything like that. I know I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, like I said, I disagree with him on a lot, but I thought overall he was one of the best presidents we ever had. He made a lot of good decisions. He did a lot of things that even Democrat, if you go back and listen to some old speeches of like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Obama, they were talking about a wall. They were talking. They were like, we need some kind of barrier.
They were definitely. So that's the thing that I think people don't realize about, and I think this should. I don't want to go. We should get into it, but I'll make it quick because I know we're at the end of the podcast time. But people need to know how politics works. They will say and do whatever it takes to get reelected. That's like the whole game. They're just constantly trying to get reelected. And I think one of the things that really kind of brought light to this was Tim Pool interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, and was on the show. And she said that there is something called a voice vote, okay? What that means is they have like their helpers or whatever they're called, their staff members. And their staff members come from, they're just a bunch of committee heads and stuff like that. And so whoever the committee head staff member is, they come in and they say, all right, we're passing law 7145, whatever the heck, on drugs and trafficking and all that. And it's like all in favor. And then like because of how committees work and stuff like that, if you have power in Congress right now, the committee heads are going to be all Democrats. Yeah. So they all just say yay. And then the, poor little Republicans have to say nay, but their nay is smaller than their yay, and then the law gets passed.
Yeah.
Well, what she started doing was she started asking for the record of the vote, And that forces all 400 some Congress people to come back, and they have to put their name to a vote.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they could do this. Like they could just say like a voice vote, like yay or nay. And then it kind of came to me. I was like, that's why though. It's because, and it's what she said. Then later it was they don't like putting their name to a vote because then they can be held accountable, and then that. Well, it troubles them for re-election.
Yeah, this person voted for that thing, see? Yeah.
Right, and it also cuts into their time where they're out there lobbying, getting money for their next, election season and all that other stuff, because they're just constantly running through the grinder of trying to get reelected, which is why I just don't trust any of them at this point.
Yeah.
And it's weird for me to say this, because originally I didn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought she was freaking nuts in the head. She might be.
That's what a lot of people thought,
But the thing is, though, I trust her a whole hell of a lot more than some of the other ones, just because she was honest with Tim and was like, yeah, this is how it works, and it's stupid. I'm like, holy shit. And I looked into it then, and I'm like, oh my God, they've been doing this for fucking ever.
Yeah. That was like a lot of Tim Pool's chats were saying like, wow, she's actually kind of cool, and I thought she was a nut, and that's what I'm talking about. It goes back to our point of talking to the other side. You could find some common ground.
Finding out what's going on.
Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they're a monster. Yeah. And the same thing with Tim Pool when he had Steve Bannon on. There's a lot of people like, wow, I thought he was a crazy nut, but he's actually kind of smart and articulate, and that's what I'm saying. It's good to open up the conversation because you can find some common ground. Not everybody's a monster, and humanize people. We're also humans. We're also Americans, and again, that's the whole point. I think of today's episode was be more like Lauren and the quartering, like talk, reach across the aisle, have the conversations. Don't just shut it down and stay in your corner in your echo chamber. It's bad. It's not good.
Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Don't be a Pokemon streamer and do nothing.
All right. I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. But we are, we went way longer than the first one.
Than the last time. Yeah.
Like I said, that's what I said. Is sometimes when we rant, we rant. I didn't even think we were going to go that long today because I am running on 3 hours of sleep, so I'm going to crash soon. That's why if I look like I'm really out of it, I'm super tired. But I'll make sure.
Don't worry, I'll carry the show.
Yeah. Next time I'll just sleep on the stream, which is another thing on Twitch. You could sleep on stream now, But
yeah, that's
we'll talk about that.
Forget about hot tub girls.
Yeah, hot tub girls.
We'll get into all that.
Yeah, and of course we'll start streaming soon on twitch.tv/cav_arcade. I did rebrand it from the Cavity King, but we will link all that in the description below, our social medias, sources, all that in the description below. If you guys want to help support the channel the best way, I always tell people just like, comment, shares, any kind of interaction with the video helps, because talking outside the narrative, anything that CNN doesn't like, YouTube's not going to like us. They're not going to help us out with the algorithm. So they don't want any kind of interaction with our videos, any kind of comments, but it does help a lot, and I do appreciate that. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell when you upload our next episode, and we're also on the audio platform, Spotify, Google Podcast. Check all that in the description below. We'll be on Rumble too, and Odyssey. I'm trying to utilize the alt tech platforms a little bit more just in case we get banned, because who knows. I already have a warning on my channel. I got the 2 strikes removed. I had a warning and 2 strikes. I got the 2 strikes removed. So for now, we're safe, but knock on wood. Yeah, but it could happen, so make sure you check us out on Rumble and Odyssey, and smash that Rumble button, whatever Odyssey has.
And comment. Definitely comment.
Yeah,
and,
comment.
help us out with a name for this podcast, too.
Yeah.
I'm coming up all blanks. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, it was like the day before the podcast, I'm just like, I don't really have a title. I'm like, that was the last thing on my mind. I was thinking of a title, so I just added podcast at the end of my YouTube channel. I'm like, there we go.
Well, we'll come up with something. I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, and then eventually we're going to start expanding a little bit. We'll have some in-person episodes. We talked about going live eventually.
Yes, definitely. And interacting with people.
Yeah, but we can still interact with you. Comment below and leave a comment. Maybe we'll start in the next couple episodes, start reading questions, and we'll answer you guys. So It could be whatever. It could be a political question, personal question. You know, it could be about video games and all that. You won't just have to.
And if it's a good enough question, since I like talking about my personal life like an idiot, I ranted for like 15 minutes about that stupid Tangled movie.
Whatever.
I will definitely tell personal stories, and if it's a good enough question, I'll include it.
Yeah, we'll love to hear from you guys. So just let us know in the comments below. And I think that is really it. Check me and Adam out on GETTR. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening if you're on the audio, whatever. But appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Yep. See ya.